We are going live. We are going live.
Okay. Got it.
We are live.
We give thanks. We are alive in healing session.
Recording now.
Okay, Sanibonani, greetings. Dumelang, Absheni, Ndosheni. Siyabingelela to one and all. Welcome to Ikhambi Natural Healing session, an open conversation with Nompilo Maduna, Ongumelapi, and we'll do a lot of introduction. She will introduce herself. After we do the usual rituals of reading the pledge, having a breathing meditation, and then we will get in to the Sekhmet session. First, we will describe who Sekhmet is, the nature, by the name of Sekhmet. We know here on Ikhambi Natural Healing, we deal with the ancient natural forces that were collectively in Egypt. They were collectively, how can I say, documented in ancient Egypt or Kemet, but we know that these are ancient African divinities. Siyabafanisa noNomkhubulwane, siyabafanisa noNomhoyi, siyabafanisa noMlenzemunye, siyabafanisa nezilo ezahlukahlukene. People see kings wearing leopard clothes. Some people see other kings wearing the skin of the lion. We see izimpaphe njengalolu engilifakile. Akuyona insingiza but kuthiwa yini ligwalagwala. Why do we have all these totems? We will delve into all of that while we are having our conversation with Nompilo, who is a herbalist, a horticulturist, but she will also explain further, identify herself during this conversation. And feel free to jot down some questions if you have questions about some of the healing remedies that she'll be speaking about and the healing methods. And we shall delve deeper into the healing arts and into the rituals and into the traditions and into the emerging sciences that exist out there regarding healing. But we base our conversation a lot, not that you are limited, but Tina, as Ikhambi Natural Healing, we base our timing, like for example, this is Katiska Sekhmet. Before this, it was Katiska Anbu, and there was Katiska Osar. And next month is going to be, or the next season is going to be Katiska Set. All these are ancient African forces that exist within our calendar, or what the white people call the zodiac, the animal symbol of time, the animalistic symbols of time. So we will delve deeply into Sekhmet, explaining who Sekhmet is and why Sekhmet is so feared and loved, especially la Ikhambi. Angihambi ngedwa ngihamba noMankosi. Mankosi, bingelela.
Thokozani, greetings, beloveds. Mina nguNelly Nkosi, intombi yakwaDlamini, intombi yaselangeni, intombi zalwa nguNamashinini. Ngithi Tsamagwini.
Tsamagu. Okay. So as Makosi always explains to people here, you may see us in all these beautiful African attire, and some of us make conclusions. That we are not limited to that particular tradition. We love that tradition. We celebrate it. We celebrate Ubungoma. We celebrate all forms of healing, but we are not limited, Ikhambi, to only Ubungoma. We would like to know healers for who they are within the tradition and also outside of the tradition, if that type of relationship exists, whereby if you are a doctor, we can interview you, we can be, as long as your methods are natural. If you are a healer, energy healer, like we can be, we will speak to you because your energy is part of nature. Whatever forms of healing, it does not have to be labeled Ubungoma. It does not have to be labeled this or that, or a naturalist, or this or that. Okubalulekile for us is that we believe that abantu, first and foremost, I don't want to say human beings, abantu have various approaches to healing. We want to know about them. We want to publish them. We want to delve deeper into the healing arts and how they connect us to nature. And another very important thing, Ikhambi, without wasting too much time, you will hear it through the pledge. We are very much about nature conservation. We are very much interested in the environment, the preservation of the herbs that we are using, the preservation of the rivers that we use for our rituals, the cleanliness of our mountains, the conservation of our sacred spaces. We cannot call them sacred spaces when we are polluting them. We cannot call nature our mother and our father when we do not respect her. We do nomaganjan. So that is a very important thing, like we can be. Conservation of nature, the connection between ourselves and nature, because we are nature, and almost everything that we do, produce and learn, it comes from our nature. It comes from nature. Zoom user, I'm letting them enter, even though it'll be good to have a name, because a lot of giving happens here, Zoom, but we trust that we are protected divinely, right, Marcos?
Can you please lead us into the pledge?
Breathing. Okay, cool. And then the breathing afterwards.
Yes,
so what we do, we have something called the Healer's Pledge. We're going to recite. We would like people to unmute their mics when we recite the Healer's Pledge. You are not forced to recite the Healer's Pledge, but now it's a pledge that we believe that the words of our mouths are powerful, our intentions are powerful. So we do the Healer's Pledge as part of that empowering ritual that empowers the words we speak, so that we live by them and we don't just say them, Jill, or in an automatic way. So please unmute your mic. I'm going to read the Healer's Pledge. Yes.
It's also very important to remind ourselves and that we need to respect one another, and we need to respect the knowledge that we speak of.
Absolutely. All these images in the Healer's Pledge, as everyone will see. So you can unmute and you'll repeat, please, after me. It's a very short pledge, assuring, giving us that it's the names of visitors today. Not all of you guys, I'm just saying, hey, if you don't have a name, I get a bit suspicious if you don't put your name on your Zoom, or any name at least. But maybe it could be a bot, it could be whatever, but it's fine. We shall conclude, we shall continue. So the Healer's Pledge goes like this. Please listen and you just repeat after me, please. You can unmute, all of us, we say it together. So the Healer's Pledge is the code of conduct for this group. Natural healing, Ikhambi, the cure. Singabelaphi, we are healers.
Singabelaphi, we are healers.
We are healers.
We owe our gifts to nature, our ancestors, and our creators.
We owe our gifts to nature, our ancestors, and our creators.
We live by the principles of Ma'at, Unu, Ubuntu.
We live by the
principles of Ma'at,
Unu, and Ubuntu.
We will approach each other with respect, honesty, and compassion.
We will approach each other with respect, honesty, and compassion.
We will offer our recommendations and ideas with trust.
We will offer our
recommendations
and ideas with trust.
We will neither insult, dishonor, nor abuse one another.
We will neither insult, dishonor, nor abuse one another.
We will share, practice, promote, and raise awareness about natural healing.
We will share,
practice, and promote,
and raise
awareness about natural healing.
Healthy lifestyles and well-being.
healthy lifestyles,
and well-being.
well-being.
We will refrain from posting negative information.
We will refrain from posting negative information.
We will refrain from posting irrelevant information and falsehood.
We will refrain from posting irrelevant information and falsehoods.
We are healers.
Singabelaphi, we are healers.
Our gifts are a gift to humanity and nature.
Our gifts are a gift to humanity and nature.
We will give back to nature what she has abundantly given us.
We will give back to nature what she has abundantly given us.
Siyabonga, you can mute your mics now, and we're going to do a breathing meditation. Breathing meditations ideally can take up to 10 to 15 minutes, but our breathing meditation is for the sake of this virtual platform, quite a short one. Even though Nkosi, we jokingly used to say that we cannot talk about breathing, a short breathing meditation, because there is such a thing as shortness of breath. So we don't want to put the word breathing and short in the same sentence. So we just call it a quick breathing meditation. So just sit comfortably wherever you are, and just be comfortable. Either you can stand. Usually me now, in my prayer space, I stand when I do my breathing meditation, and sometimes I lie down flat, but you can also do it sitting. So you just relax your shoulders, relax your mind. As you relax your mind and relax your shoulders and calm your heart, the heart has lots of thoughts going through it. So breath and the mind also does the same, and the body memory also does the same. So we relax our bodies and we take a deep breath in. We hold it and we breathe out through our mouth, dropping the shoulders down. We take another deep breath in. Hold it in your tummy. Breathe out through the mouth. You take a deep breath in again. Allow our ancestors, allow the guides, allow those who are above and below to be with us. Pay respect to them and to the Creator. Breathe out. We relax our shoulders and we breathe in again. And ask our creators, our guides and our ancestors to give us grace, to give us patience, give us wisdom in the words we speak, and to bless our speaker in this conversation. Breathe out. Take one deep breath again. Think of the life-giving forces that you are breathing in, and the privilege of having the breath of life. And then we breathe out again. Siyabonga kakhulu. Welcome everyone. Welcome. I just see my sister Hepburn coming through. So we give thanks for everyone coming through. And Asokile also coming through. We give thanks for everyone coming through for this session. Welcome everyone. Welcome one and all. Welcome Nompilo. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
We are very well. We are very well. Nompilo, we first just going to launch into it, and I'm going to give people a quick, my version of how we met. You can give us, I don't know if you may remember, because it was a long time ago. And we haven't met also in a very long time, even though we keep in touch on the socials. Is that okay for me to give a quick background of us? the story of us. Is it okay with you?
That's okay. That's all right with me. You can go ahead.
Yeah. And then I would like you to just introduce yourself, and then we will have some questions to you regarding where, how far have you come, and we want to know about the downs, but we also want to know about the ups. You don't have to be like detail or whatever if you don't want to go detail, but we know that uhambo lohlanya, uhambo olunzima. And for those who don't understand what I am saying, in Zulu we use there's a word that we use. It's controversial. There's a word for a sangoma that we use, and even in Zanusi, that is used. It was used a lot by the elders. It's called ushanya. But most people nowadays, when they think of ushanya, they think about a person who's like really cuckoo, psychotic, mad, pathologically disconnected. But what the Zulu elders meant, or the Nguni elders meant by ushanya, was someone who is able to speak to those who others cannot speak. You can speak to. Ushanya sees things that you cannot see. Ushanya is able to go into realms that you cannot go into. It's called Ushanya in a joking way. Our language was very, I don't know what's the word, colloquially, it was very jocular. I'm school, even don't says. Our language is, I would just say that it's to say it's fun, you know, even certain swear words. You go to weddings, you'll hear people singing, singing some very descriptive words about certain parts of the body in weddings or in some rituals. It's, oh, and no, it's just the play of words that we use as African people, because we know that words are magic. So me and Nompilo, I met Nompilo. I used to have in 2008, 2009, from 2008 and 2010, I would say. I had a bookshop, me and my friend called Papi Kalua. We had started something, a business some people may be familiar with. We started in Durban. It's called Urban Zulu. So it was Urban Zulu / Zwagala. Zwagala was the events part of the business and the books part of the business. And Urban Zulu was the clothing part of the business. So we came together and we formed this Urban Zulu in Durban. And we had sessions, like sometimes poetry and conversation sessions. 2009, in near the campus called DUT, Steve Biko campus in Durban, the Technicon. Some used to call it Technicon Natal. So in there, I sold books, right? So I kind of chose to sell a lot of Afrocentric books written by Africans, even though there were other books too. And we sold clothes, and the clothes were like very urban, partly urban, very traditional, not traditional, you wouldn't call it traditional. It was urban clothes, but made by Africans. Everything was very pro-African, Lapagwa Urban Zulu. So, and it was a place also where people could hang out and smoke a little herb, and basically just hang out and talk Pan-Africanism, Black consciousness, and plot. It was a place for instigators of the revolution in a way, Urban Zulu. It still exists. Me and Papi, we went our separate ways, but we're still very much good friends. As Urban Zulu got established in Joburg and it kept growing and growing and growing. And Nompilo was one of the people that used to visit Urban Zulu, and not just for clothes. She would come, we'll chat, you know, sometimes people will get clothes, sometimes you'll get books. Boys and girls will meet. I won't tell people's stories with which boy met which girl. No boy meet girl, a lot of things happened. So Nompilo was one of those people that was very curious about her Africanness. She was very curious about Ubuntu Bake. So she would bother me with a lot of questions about about Pan-Africanism, about everything. Not bother, you're not bothering me. But there was a lot of questions. But it was always an equal space for people to actually just get to know each other. Menzi was not like the professor who said, I always try to help people learn about themselves by the questions that they ask. Okay, if you're asking a question about this, how much have you delved into that question? How much have you asked your ancestors? How much have you spoken to God? At that time, I was a deep Rasta. I was a priest in the Rasta Nayabingi order. And so many people were curious even about Rasta. So they will ask about Rasta. So I will give them books, lend them books, and blah, 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 blah. And that's how I met Nompilo. And at that time, she had not yet twasad. So, and then in virtual, I started seeing her dealing with herbs. And I think you were studying, what were you studying, Nompilo?
Oh, I was studying horticulture.
Okay, what is horticulture?
The horticulture is basically the study of ornamental plants, crop plants, and medicinal plants. And the part of the medicinal plants is one that caught me the most because that's what I've always been interested in, natural healing. So it was no coincidence that I was led into the trail of learning about plants and the environment and natural medicine.
Okay. Were you led there or were you pushed there, Nompilo, towards studying what you're studying? Because some of us, you know, we were studying marketing and some of us do business this or technology that. And some of us don't really study what our heart is telling us to go for. How did you get to the field of horticulture?
Well, basically, I had applied for quite a few environmental plant-based and soil-based careers.
Okay.
My first choice was soil science, but it didn't work out there, and then I ended up in horticulture. So horticulture was one of my options. I didn't land there by chance or anything like that.
Okay. You were searching for the right one, for the right fit.
And I was placed in the perfect one because here I am now dealing with medicinal plants, and horticulture does teach you about plants. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. What we would like to do, we will get back to the horticulture and how it led you into the business that you are actually, because I assume that what you are practicing is both business and a calling. Not a lot of people are so blessed to have their business as their calling. Some of us see Daiselama Guinya, or see Daiselama computer, or see Daiselama fruit. But this is what people call a side hustle. But some people are in the lane that they were called for. I would like us to delve deeper into that. But before we do that, I would like to just give people a little background. We'll get back to you very soon. We'll talk about your field of study and then go into the personal life of a healer. Not personal, kakulu, but just the day-to-day life of a person like yourself who's in their lane. But first, let's begin with Uguti. As we have gathered here, I've already said for those who entered here early, we said that Ikhambi, we deal with the seasonal natural forces. We deal with the life forces that were depicted artistically in ancient Egypt. Some of them came through as half man, half human, half animal. Some come as female goddesses. We call them goddesses. No, not arguing, but we always reason about the fact that English sometimes does not capture the true essence of what we are talking about. Like, for example, this season we are talking about Sekhmet. Is called Umelapi, but she's also called the vanquishing fire, the purging fire. She's both, in English, they say she's a god of war. But also at the same time, they say she's a god of the surgeons, a goddess, so to speak. But for example, the word God itself does not fit perfectly into, you know, if you say God, a god of, it's like, oh, no, it is not quite like that. So I would like us to just clear the air about Sekhmet, and then we will hear your views about all this also in terms of Uguti. Like the natural, we call them natural forces or the natural powers or the divine powers. But they were depicted in ancient Egypt in particular ways. Last season, we were dealing with Impungushe, a human being below, but Ikhanda lake Impungushe. We call him Anpu. The white people call, let me stop saying white people. Europeans and others, they call Anpu Anubis. And they have all things related to him. Tina, we say Impungushe, we say Injemnyama, you know, but there are certain powers that are attributed to that Mpungushe. There are certain attributes like Unogada, so powers of the particular animal, we know that they are related to a particular they are related to a particular force or a particular
divine force.
A purpose.
The divine force, it was one of the
Some kind
divine
of
forces
force.
or elements
Yes.
because
Yes.
everything also connects to the source, you know.
Yes.
So it's one of those elements is and for me,
Yeah.
Mkulu, you know, this is one of my favorite seasons because we
Oh,
speak of
Sekhmet.
the yes.
So you start, then you go ahead and give us a brief on Sekhmet, and I will say what I know, and then we get back to Nompilo. Can you begin and tell us what you know
So
about Sekhmet?
I love this because Nompilo is a healer as well. And the season is the season of the healer. Sekhmet is ngati, for lack of a better word, just for people to understand, Sekhmet is the first healer. It is said that she came to earth like a comet, you know, like, you know, when something comes into earth like a comet, it's like, there, you know, and she's the one that shared her healing powers with the other healers that are now healing right now. Ngati batin ugobela uqala, you know, in terms of mythology, she's the first healer. Like for me, it's very powerful. Like to think of it like for that to see when you're not in alignment and you're unable to help yourself, there is an outlet where you can go to and you can actually get assistance and healing. So yeah, Sekhmet is my favorite force of nature.
You know, when people say comet, they think it's something complicated. It's a blazing flame coming from outside of the sky, from out of the sky. Now, Sekhmet, according to the story, the ancient African story, ancient Kemetic story, was sent from the sun, from the spirit of the sun. So imagine a piece of sun, of the sun itself, coming out and turning into some kind of comet and landing on Earth. There's going to be destruction there. For those who know a little bit about science and about the history of the universe was created, so there are stories of how different comets from different parts of the universe, different parts of space, fell to Earth, and after millions of years, things develop, rocks, mountains develop, rivers, lakes, trees develop. All these things develop in what they call evolution, right? So there's been an evolution of the species. Now, once upon a time, I use that on purpose, from the sun. The sun in ancient Egypt is looked at as the father, is looked at as the creator, is looked at as Nkosi is described as umvelinqangi. We would say even further and say the sun is the creator in the solar system. Uyena Menzi wezinto zonke in the solar system. We know that there's other planets, there's moon. Excuse me?
Excuse me?
So Menzi is one of the ancient names, ancient Guni names for the creator, right? So Menzi sent Sekhmet out into the world because the world had become a place where people had disregarded imithetho yemvelo. People were living their lives not obeying the natural laws. So there was a lot of destruction in the earth. You can even say there was a lot of sinning in the world. There was a lot of illness. The world was out of order. We were not obeying ma'at. Ubuntu besebuphelile. Almost like isikhathi isikhona manje. So Umdali sends umelaphi, who is a part of his own body, sends her like a flame scorching from the sky, hitting the earth. And then she turns into a lion goddess. She's a person who is personified as a vicious lion, basically destroying those human beings who had turned away from obeying the laws of nature, the laws of the universe, the customary laws, and imithetho yesintu, yobuntu, so to speak. So that happens, but then there comes a time where the killing must stop. When the killing stops, there are those who becomes followers of Kemet and the followers of Sekhmet. And the followers of Sekhmet becomes known as Senu, which is an ancient word also, which develops later and becomes a Nguni word called Isanusi. Those who are able to heal the body and who are also able to heal the mind. In ancient times, those were followers of Sekhmet. That Sekhmet became their patron. I'm summarizing an ancient story which is very long, but for sake of time, I'm making it short. So those followers of Sekhmet are called Senu. In ancient Egypt and civilization that lasted for about, I would say, 30,000 years, Sekhmet was one of those Neteru, or the Neter, the natural powers, that was what mostly depicted. I mean, statues in ancient Egypt. There's all these drawings in the on the pyramids and on the temples. There are all these statues and drawings and depictions and words. And Sekhmet is one of the most mentioned, and she's one of the most depicted. You see statues of Sekhmet in more temples than any other. Next to Osar, Oset, and Anpu, Sekhmet is one of the most depicted. And the reason for that, and she's also the patron of the most famous healer that's ever known, Imhotep. Imhotep, he was immortalized in the temple of Sekhmet. Now, Sekhmet was first worshipped in Sudan. Like most ancient Egyptian deities or natural powers, their first temples were created in a place called Napata, in ancient Sudan, in what we call Sudan today. So that whole Nile Valley region, from Uganda all the way up, following the River Nile up to Egypt, they used to be healers who swore by Sekhmet. They say, "Ngifunga uSekhmet, ayikho into engingikwazi ukwelapha. I will get the herbs. I will make sure I've got the right roots. I've got the right animal essence. I've got the right stones. I've got the right everything." And everything revolved around Sekhmet as the healer. So the healers were also social leaders. So with all that said, that's the background of Sekhmet. I'll give you a little brief background, but please go study for yourself, go on YouTube, go on online, or get books, find out more about Sekhmet. With that said, Nompilo, you studied horticulture, but then how did you become full circle and become umelaphi wesintu? Can you give us a little story about yourself? How did you move from, maybe you have not moved, how did your fascination and your occupation with what you studied and what you learned at school lead you full circle to becoming umelaphi that onguye manje and into the business that you are doing? But first, maybe let's start with the business. What do you call your business? What are you doing in your business? And then we're going to go full circle to the story of how you became umelaphi.
Can we start with the evolution journey?
Oh, the backstory. Okay, no, that's fine.
Can we start with her evolution journey? You know, her becoming, her story of becoming.
How did you become who you became? Let's start there. A woman Nkosi will delve into your business, I'm sure, because she likes herbs, sandy meat.
Okay, once again, thank you for having me here at Ikhambihealing. How did I become Nkosi? Well, initially, in the beginning, I was not aware, Uguti, I was gonna be in this path of healing people. Although back then people would tell me that I have a healing spirit. I remember this one guy would say to me, I have an aura of an adult or someone who is ancient, but I did not understand what that meant. And over time, after graduating horticulture, trying to find employment, things wouldn't work out. And I was not sure how things, I was not sure how can I put this? Things were just not going accordingly. Ne? So I tried to find out what was going on, because I couldn't find work and things were just going haywire. And then I started seeking traditional advice. And afterwards, I learned that I was, how can I put this? Later on, I learned that ngihamba nabantu abadala, ngihamba namakhosi. I had dreams which led me to my practice here, what I'm doing now. But before starting the business of Donaman's Organics, before going into Ndonia Manzi Organics, I couldn't find work as a horticulturist. I think that's when the push of opening a business started. I couldn't find work as a horticulturist. And then I started going into business since I've always liked natural healing, plants and stuff. So I did some research on that. And luckily I was a horticulturist. I had learned horticulture. I had learned plants medicine. So I started the business right there and then. And it coincided with my journey or calling as a healer. So as I said earlier, it is no coincidence that I landed in horticulture, because now it coincides well with my calling, which is Nkosi. And people confuse me for Isangoma. I'm not really Isangoma. I cannot confine myself to that particular term or discipline of Isangoma. I'm in more of umthandazi, not as an Isangoma, but umthandazi who works with herbs. So I heal people physically, which is the healing of the body, and I heal people mentally, which is the healing of the mind, and also spiritually as well. Ancestral healing, aura healing, and energy healing.
Nkosi, may I ask something? So in your journeys, you mentioned that you couldn't find work, you know, and then you wanted to, you went into a self-search or self-discovery journey. During that discovery journey, did you maybe go into consultations like shy flow X-ray? Because uyobhula flow X-ray.
Yes, I did do consultations, but before consultations, I remember I had an issue of what I thought was anxiety at the time, because I did not understand what was going on with me. I felt so disorientated. I felt so unstable mentally, spiritually, but I could not understand what was going on. I even went to your government hospitals, to your modern day healing institutions, and they diagnosed me with anxiety and depression. But when I went back home with the medication that was prescribed with me, I thought to myself, first of all, I'm not into pharmaceutical medicine. I've always had a strange relationship with the type of healing, so I was not attracted to that. And then I thought to myself, I cannot live my life taking pills forever. And there's not one thing that I cannot do if I put my mind into it. I'm sure I can deal with this in another way. And then I started teaching myself about anxiety, about depression, and I thought to myself, no, man, this is not it. And then after some time, after a month taking the medication, I stopped. And then I started having dreams from my elders. That's when I understood what was going on with me. I started having dreams from my elders, some messages from them. And then from there, I was able to put 1 and 1 together equals to 2. Visiting a traditional healer also cleared the air and cleared my mind and cleared the atmosphere of what was going on. And a lot of other very deep personal things happened in between that I cannot discuss here. But as you did mention that esintwini we are called izinhlanya. Even when someone goes to consult, they say you know, because we're able to connect or communicate with our spirit guides and the spirit realm. So that's where I got more clearance about my life path and what was supposed to happen with my life, because I couldn't find employment. And then I discovered that I am supposed to be working healing people mentally, ancestrally, spiritually, and physically. And
may I ask, did you discover by yourself that you're distinct, like you were explaining, you are not Isangoma in a traditional way, in a sense that people expect? Because sometimes people look at your attire and say, "Hi, Sango." When did you make the distinction to say that, okay, this one is umthandazo, ilona inyanga, and yeah, when did you make the distinctive identification ukuthi not a sangoma bula mathambo kanjalo kanjalo, but yeah, can you give us
before
that?
we go into that, Mkulu, I think it would be beneficial just to highlight to people ukuthi, when we say a person has a calling, you know, just to remind people, especially those who are new to these sessions, is that having a gift, it does not mean ubungoma. And I think Umkhulu Menzi alluded to that at the beginning of the session, that having a gift does not mean ukuthi you suddenly now are called to ubungoma. There are different types of healers. Even when we speak of Sekhmet, you will see that she carries different types of healing. There's healers who are healers using water spirit healers. There's those who are herbalists, and I think ngesintu bathi amagedla, and then khona vele this isangoma leso saziyo isangoma. Even nasebungomeni there's different types of isangoma. This healing thing is very vast. And then you've got abantu abafana nabo Mkhulu Menzi who are going to heal you with their trumpets, the music, with the gift of music, you know. And we've got people who've got a calling as well, but they're placed in leadership positions, or they're meant to educate people. They're very good at educating people, and that's when we speak of Abamkhulu Nzingiza. And in your journey, Makosi, how did you end up discovering or actually identifying that this is what my ancestors have called me to do?
Okay, this is what happens when you're gonna discover which journey your ancestors want you to follow or go through. So uyalasha okokuqala, you get healing. Ukulasha okokuqala is where you eat ikhamba noma inkamba. Abanye bazibiza ngamagobongo lezo inkamba lezo. So mawudla lezo zikamba noma uphahla igobongo liyakuvezela through ancestral communications, through dreams, or even when you are not sleeping. You get communication, direct and clear communication from your ancestors while you're busy with that process of igobongo or izinkamba ezingafani nazo zihlukahlukene. So during the healing process, your ancestors directly speak to you. They tell you what they want to do. They tell you what healing they need. They direct. So that's how I got the signal of my life path and my purpose and what kind of work I'm supposed to be doing here.
And you mentioning that is very interesting, because I was about to ask you that in your journey of self-discovery, did you have somebody who was aiding you in your process? I know uma uyongena ephehlweni, you have uGobela who's going to assist you in terms of your journey. That's why I was about to ask you, did you have somebody who was aiding you or who was guiding you in terms of your journey?
Yes, of course I did. Although initially, you know, this traditional or African healing journey, it's not always an easy one. And more often than not, you come across people who call themselves healers, and when you involve yourself with them, things don't go appropriately, they go haywire. So initially I met someone like that, and then later on I met a proper healer who guided me properly with discipline and truth, and things went accordingly afterwards. So yeah, I did have someone who was leading and guiding me through the process, although of course we were following the instructions and leadership of my ancestors through dreams and other communication.
Okay, I think we may have lost video feed. I'm not sure if it's your device. I think it was your device that probably overheated. Is it not placed in the sun?
No, it's not placed in the sun. It's not placed in the sun.
She's there. Maybe it's your side. I can see her.
No, she went off for a bit, but it's okay.
Carry on, Coco. Nkosi.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And you know what, ne? So I wanted to ask you, now you're here, you have discovered that your ancestors want you to heal this way. With me, I will make an example with me. I will speak from my own personal context, is that when I have herbs, the healing mixtures and whatnot, they come through a dream. Some of them would say, hey, you must mix 1, 2, 3, and I'll dream of myself mixing 1, 2, 3, or going to the mountain to collect a specific herb. I don't even know some of the names of the herbs that I go and collect because I see them in the dream, and then I have to, thank goodness for Google reverse search. Now you can easily put what's this, names to things that are brought into your space, you know. How do you get to a point where you now have this knowledge about herbs, and up until the point where you are now able to say, okay, I can actually help people? Because I believe, I'm not sure if you started helping people or first, or did you open a business after? How did you transition from that? Like, how did you get to learn the herbs and
Okay, as I did mention that I studied horticulture, and one of my modules was plants medicine. But I started healing people with herbs before I got into my spiritual or African healing journey. So the business is before the spiritual journey. So before that, I would do some research about certain plants, find the medicinal properties and how to blend them. And I also learned a lot about health. I'm very interested in physical health, in mental health, and yeah, other disciplines of health. So the Nkosi, or my spiritual journey, helped me in such a way that I got to learn more of the African medicine, because before I was working with all types of herbs, indigenous herbs, African herbs, and other herbs from other countries. But after I got healed myself spiritually, I would get dreams as well from my ancestors, directing me on what herb to take to mix with this one and what it's for. So it's a blend of both, basically.
Marco, do you have a question before? Let's ask the audience if they have a question.
Well, yeah, we're going to go to our audience, but I'd like to ask one question. I like this issue of blending traditions. You know, recently on our what do you call this platform? Maybe we have a link to Nompilo's business. Okay, yeah, we definitely. I think we can do that. We will send it. You can find it on. People are asking for a link to your business, Nompilo. People want a link to your business. So
I think we will post it, Nkulu, when we upload on YouTube. We will also add the link
yes.
to what's this, to Nompilo's business, and also at the end she will share her social details as well. Where do we find her, and you know, and we will also post that information on Ikhambi Natural Healing's socials as well, and as well as on the video description on YouTube.
Okay, of course. No, thank you for that. We will do that, Kile. As I was saying, recently in our WhatsApp group, there was a discussion about initiation. It's kind of related to what Nkosi was asking, but I want to extend it a little bit. So there was this conversation about initiation. I think someone shared an article about self-initiation. It was basically looking down at so-called self-initiation, saying you cannot be a healer and you are saying you are self-initiated. What about going through the traditional routes? What about going through guidance from others? You know, there is no such thing as self-initiation in Africa. That was the usual thing. But what I'm liking from what I'm hearing from you, maybe you can touch on that too. But what I'm liking is this whole thing of blending. You said in your horticulture study, you were learning about herbs from Africa, but herbs also from elsewhere. Now we've had a healer from Andalusia, Spain, Aranza, I think they were blending some herbs, Nkosi. And we have healers from elsewhere. But do you feel like there is a conflict, or do you feel like blending herbs from the local Southern African herbs and the healing systems of other places? Is there a conflict there, or are they really complementary?
Can you clear that? Are you speaking of natural herbs and pharmaceutical herbs, or are you just herbs?
Yeah. Herbs and roots and just immunity in general. Is there a conflict, or is there a complementariness between, like, for example, let's say you ngenzela nje into ezongisiza ngesisu, but then you happen to find out, okay, maybe you need something from South America, or you need something from, for example, Himalayan salt. People are talking about, Himalayan salt, yet that's not a local Southern African kind of thing. Is there conflict in your practice, or is there complementary? Is it complementing? I hope I'm making sense.
In my practice, there's no conflict at all. Herbs heal. Yes, herbs heal. So I do blend herbs that are indigenous to South Africa or to KZN, and herbs that are in South America or whatnot. So there's no conflicts at all. They do work in synergy, as long as you know what is the outcome you want for whatever, or what is the acute or obtuse illness that you are trying to deal with or target. As long as you are using herbs in the right blend, there's no conflict at all.
Okay. All right. No, that's good. One more thing. I still need to know a little bit more about, just more specifically about, how do you determine, you said your ancestors guide you, yes, but how do you really determine when I'm just trying to link this whole thing with umtandas. In my mind, I see umtandas. If I come with an issue, we will consult, we will talk, and then they will lay hands on me, or they will, pray for me. I'm looking at how do these things blend? Because umtandas, but you're also recommending imiti per se. But the way you are recommending imiti, I don't see you doing like Inyanga, where I come from. Inyanga would go and take amagxolo, take herbs athize, and when I see your things being packaged in a very modern way, and some of them are already packaged, so how does, like, if I'm coming with the ailment, I've got headaches, I've got these constant headaches, just give me a day in the life of Nompilo as umtandazi and blending into a herbalist.
Well, like I said, in my discipline, I don't really confine myself to the title of umtandazi, although some people would call me that, because I believe our healing process or life as Africans is very versatile. But as umtandazi, since I'm being classified as umtandazi, is because I use prayer a lot in my practice. I believe a lot in prayer. Prayer is powerful. I rely a lot on prayer. Prayer can be meditation. Prayer can be, you can do it in a group or when you're meditating, but I use prayer a lot. I use energy healing a lot. I guess that's why I'm called umtandazi, because I cannot say I'm an umtandazi because I'm connected to the waters, because your sangoma is connected to the waters as well. So that's why I'm not into this classification of spiritual or African healers. I'm very versatile, because I use alchemy as well. Alchemy is where you use the tools of awareness and energy transmutation and then alignment, So another African healer would not know what I'm talking about when I speak of those elements of healing. That's why, or hence I say, I cannot confine myself into a certain box of of healing because I'm versatile. And speaking of medicine and the packaging of my medicines, sometimes I do
Show us an example. Yeah.
nginaso nje isigqulo ngiyayigqula imithi nami. I do gula imithi. I have impemiso for headaches, you know. Yes, ngiyamhlanganisela umuntu mayifika kwesinye isikhathi, but I have commercial customers as well. You know, your commercial customers require products to be packaged a certain way. You have to label your products. You have to have instructions on your products. You know,
yes.
For example, this is our lung and flu tonic from Doniaman's Organics. In lung and flu tonic, I blend certain herbs with lung and flu tonics, and some herbs are not African indigenous herbs. So that kind of products, I'm going to have to package it and sell it commercially online. So that's how it differs. But as well.
Okay, cool. Please, while we are there, I know Nkosi said we'll share all these things. Could you share now for some people may not stay until the end of the session? Could you share your online link, and then we will do it in a formal way a little bit later. Could you share it now for those who might not be able to stay for the rest of the session?
Okay, on social media, we Instagram, we are Manzi Organics.
Manzi.
Manzi, not Indoni. Manzi Instagram. On Facebook, we are Manzi Organics as well, and we're also available on Facebook. On WhatsApp. My WhatsApp number is 065-914-7407.
All right, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
There is a herb, there is a package behind you in black. What is that, Kok? No, on your right. On your, that side. What is that?
No, this is activated charcoal. This is just plain activated charcoal.
Oh, that's just for you. Or is it from your
activated charcoal as well. Activated charcoal is one of our products. It's Doniaman's Organics.
What is it used for?
Activated charcoal, basically what it does when you take it internally, because you use it internally and externally. So internally, usually they use it in hospitals when a patient comes in, maybe they have overdosed some pills or whatever, trying to commit suicide. So what activated charcoal it does is that it draws toxins from your body to itself. So it draws toxins from the body to itself. So when they give the patient activated charcoal, it draws the poison from the patient's body to itself. And then the patients will excrete the charcoal toxins with the toxin the body. Other people use it in drug instances when you have say you went out socially and your drink get laced with whatever drugs for whatever purposes. So if you're feeling kind of strange and you suspect that something of that nature may have happened or occurred to you, then you can take activated charcoal as an emergency to draw the toxins from your body to the charcoal. You can also use it to brush your teeth because it helps to whiten the teeth. So it doesn't contain this fluoride, which is in our toothpastes. It's totally that cleans and whitens your teeth. It's also used for skin as well because it detoxes skin. It draws toxins from the skin. So basically, it draws toxins from you to itself.
Speaking of which, Coco, I've always thought you have the most beautiful skin. How do you keep your skin like that? I know yesterday we were talking about the sun. You were saying, hey, the sun loves you. We were talking about that one-on-one. But besides the sun, what are you using for your skin?
Thank you so much.
You want to heal us secrets.
Well, I like to blend shea butter We also shea butter as Ndoniaman's is organics. So I mix shea butter and tamanu seed oil. Tamanu seed oil it's organic. It's an organic oil from the tamanu tree. Okay. Yeah, so I shea butter and tamanu seed oil. But to wash my face, I use our sandalwood facial soap. Unfortunately, it's unavailable right now, but sandalwood soap does well for me. Our Ndoniaman's organic sandalwood soap.
Ah, that's wonderful. I'm gonna get that sandalwood once it's available. Like I sandalwood, Ngami loves sandalwood so much, like sandalwood incense. We know, like we can be also, as I was saying, that we work according to this neteru, according to this ancient Egyptian life forces. There is a healer, which one? There is a neter, there is a divine force whose main incense or his main scent is sandalwood. Sandalwood seems to be very important. Is sandalwood local? Can it be sourced locally?
No, Mkulu, I don't think it grows indigenously here in South Africa.
I'm asking Koku.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sandalwood is mostly abundant in India, in the Asian regions, from what I know. Yeah, from what I know.
Oh, okay. All right.
Just a quick question. We're not Coco, because right now Mkulu is asking you about these various herbs and one of the things that I like people to be aware of, especially when buying herbs from people, or even if they go to the mountain themselves, is the issue of ethical harvesting or ethical sourcing of herbs. You know, how important is it for you to make sure Uguti, like I always remind people, you don't just rock up in Tabin or wherever and start taking herbs, and how important for you when you source the herbs to make sure that the source is like they do ethical harvesting and
Okay, as you said, ukuthi siyacela masiyokha imithi, because imithi nayo iyaphila, imithi nayo inemoya, imithi is spiritual as well. So mawuyokha umuthi uyakhuleka, uyawucela, kumanda usebenzise, noma ufika nawe ekhaya futhi uyawubika emakhosini umuthi. And I don't know if you also touched on sustainable harvesting.
Yes.
Okay, sustainable harvesting is very, very important as well, because we cannot take and not put back. You know, we don't want our herbs to go extinct. We are who we are and what we are because of what we get or receive or are blessed with from nature. So there must be a mutual balance, a mutual understanding, and a mutual respect between ourselves, the Abantu, and Imvelo.
You know, there's a line, I think it's one of the last lines in our pledge, that we must give back to nature what she has abundantly given to us. So you can't just go take without giving back. I think you're bringing up a very, very important issue. And for people to also be aware that even when you buy source commercially the herbs from you, is that when you buy them, even the usage thereof is you use your herbs ethically. You don't just, because there are some herbs which are at the brink of extinction. And we spoke lastly about last time about Ikatazo, how it's being over-harvested, and how over-harvesting has brought the plants to the brink of extinction. And just to make sure that when the next generation comes, they find herbs. The herb, so that now you're going to misuse it. No. You use those herbs in a very ethical way, like in a way you use what you need and for the purpose that you need. We have a question from Hesai. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Hessa had their hand raised before we proceed. You can unmute.
Oh, greetings, greetings. Oh, it's me, Zamalek, you know. I have to use a different name. I have to use a different name because these things, I don't understand them. I can't enter with that other name. Oh, God.
Zamalek.
She never loved us.
Speak, my king.
Yes, honorables. I have a lot of questions, but I will just ask a question on very medical purposes. That what procedures does she use in order to have proper analysis and database on how these herbs heal? I understand our method of being inspired by our ancestors, meaning our guide spirits. But in this case, it's a second question. How do you discern between the spirit that is of a dark force and the spirit that works with the light? Pardon me, where I am, there's a lot of smoke.
No, that's a good question. Very good question. It's a question that a lot of people have asked. How do you discern between a light being and a dark being in your
we
work?
Actually have a question on Facebook that is quite similar. I think they said it, Togoza Gogo, how do you tap into the source of help self? I don't know whether it was a typo or it was intentional that the sentence actually is constructed like that. But yeah, we have a question.
There's a secondary one because it might be slightly different, but yeah, I see the similarities. Let's just deal with the one that's Amalek because it's very direct.
Okay, can you repeat Alex's question, please?
I would like to allow him to repeat it himself again, maybe, if it's possible for him to speak again.
Okay, yes. How do you define, like, I can't use proper words, but how do you have a procedure? What kind of procedure do you use to identify healing compounds and qualities towards your herbs that you get? And then the second one, it will be how do you discern between the good and the evil, meaning the light spirit and the dark guidance, because that exists, the polarity. Thank you.
Okay, in terms of herbal components, so what I do besides spiritual and ancestral guidance, I'm very big in research as well. I learn a lot. I teach myself a lot. So I also do a lot of medicinal background studies. I do background studies on the herbs themselves, their medicinal components. I study the research, the medical research, the pharmaceutical research, and as much as possible about the herbs and how they work and how they relate and interact with pharmaceutical medicines. For example, if I have a patient who per se is struggling with diabetes too, I have to know the components of the herbs that interact or disturbed the pharmaceutical medicine that the patient is taking. And then I can be able to discern which herbs to give them and which herbs not to give them and how to use them. I hope I've answered your question properly.
Okay, I think you've done that on the herbal part, but there was a part, I think, when the first time you asked the question, he was talking about, in terms of guides also. You said, we talk about, we have ancestral guidance and all that. Is there another spiritual, besides your research, is there a way that you can discern it's coming from a light force and it's not coming from a dark force? Yourself, like, how do you discern? I don't know. For me, it's the question of how do you know the message that I'm receiving about a particular a herb? I think it's just on the herbal part for me. The voice that I'm hearing is a malevolent force or it is a positive force. I hope I'm making sense. Is it a good force? Is it a bad force? To use lesser.
Okay. first and foremost, I don't know if you remember, initially I touched on awareness. Awareness is key, is very important as well. So how do you discern dark forces and light forces? Firstly, you need to be aware of how the energy makes you feel, first of all, because feelings are what lead us to making decisions, you know. So you need to know how the energy makes you feel, most importantly, and you need to be a person or a spirit who is able to discern between the true original light spirits or the ones that are some that come across as the truth, but hiding or clothing themselves in the truth, while behind them they are just wearing a mask. So I cannot really explain much in words, because it's more of to do with the energy discernment. Yes.
So would you also say maybe it's a word like intuition? It's an intuitive thing.
It's an intuitive thing. It's an intuitive thing, but you must be very sharp as well in terms of how you discern your or the energy force. Pay attention to how you feel, pay attention to how it makes you feel, pay attention to your intuition, and be sharp at it as well, because there are energies that come across masked in lights, or come across as lights when they're not. Yeah.
No, thank you for that.
This one brings into the question that was asked in what's this on Facebook. How do you tap into that? Is there a specific ritual that you do, or maybe on a weekly, monthly, or even a daily basis, to make sure that you remain centered? Because remaining centered, it's not, wow, I would like to meet a person who's constantly centered and they're not
automatic.
like, is there a specific ritual or practices or customs that you do to make yourself remain centered, so that you are in tune to be able to listen and discern?
Okay, one of the tools or habits that helps one to be able to be more connected into the spiritual realm is that you should not spend a lot of time being in crowds. You know, you should spend a lot of time alone by yourself, so you can be able to listen to the spirits. So if you are always in crowds or in busy spaces or always busy, it's going to be difficult for you to receive messages and to discern messages. And another thing as well that's very important is diets that people don't take into consideration or don't take seriously. Diets also does play a major role in one person being able to connect to themselves or connecting to the source. So if you put those things together, then you'd be able to be, how can I put it, to be able to tap more into yourself. If you have a proper diet, if you spend more time alone by yourself, if you pray a lot, prayer is also very important too as well. We do use herbs, but herbs are secondary. Herbs are secondary. Indaba is a igamoya. Yes, indaba more than we use herbs. We introduce herbs as assistance into what has already begun, which is the spirit. So you connect to the spirits first by spending more time alone or by more solitude, and then having a clean diet as well.
Thank you for that, Kok. One of just to complement what you are saying, one of my healer friends from Zimbabwe, she always says, water. She works with water and energy and crystals. She says, water is not a tool or a resource. Water is my companion. You know, which companion is similar to what you were saying about immunity. Ultimately, have a spirit also. They are not just resources. Like, you know, the Western thought has this thing of looking at things as resources. You harvest, you use, you plant, and you come back and you harvest again. It's a resource, you know, it's like something we touch. I love this thing of having personalizing our herbs. Like you find inyanga, especially I sit with a lot of sangomas. Even Umkulu, where we interviewed here before, like lo baba, lo bafo, lo mfowethu, or lo dadewethu, talking about trees, talking about herbs, as if they are my sister, my brother, my companion. You know.
For example, we have iswasho. Iswasho sisibiza uvula indlela. Igama. So uvula indlela, I advise nabantu abawusebenzisayo ukuthi uma usuthola uvula indlela ekhaya, awuvele nje udumele usebenzise cha. Uyawamukela uvula indlela, wamukela ngomkhuleko, uvula indlela uyawukhuleka. Wamukela ekhaya ubike, because it's not just into nje that you just bought ukuthi let me use it khona ngizosizakala. You must develop a spiritual relationship and connection with it, because nayo inomoya nayo yakhiwe futhi ngomoya, i-base ne-foundation yakhona inomoya nomkhuleko. So mase sifika kulelo khaya lakho, i-introduce ekhaya lakho, uyibusise, and then you can go on with umsebenzi wakho sukuwenza. So herbs are spiritual as well.
Nkosi, you just mentioned a word now, ne? And I think it would be beneficial for people to actually understand the different types of the different classifications of herbs. I know Uguti, you just said iswash, you know. When we speak of iswash, what kind of a herb are we talking about? Oheru, last when he came, he spoke about amakubal, and he explained ukuthi amakubal. Are you able to maybe like differentiate, like just provide a brief description so that people actually know ukuthi lo umut iswash amakubal, you know?
Well, iswasho means different things to different people. So awe melaphi ukuthi wena iswasho sakho usenze njani. Abanye izwasho zabo basebenzisa imkhando nosawoti kuphela. Imkhando is your powders, your color powders, where you have yellow mkhando green, mkhando blue, and salt only. Abanye abalaphi imkhando basebenzisa usawoti, basebenzise nemithi egayiwe kuyiwasho zabo. So in my discipline, iswasho is a blend of healing components put together into one product, including prayer and all the energies and tools that are used for loyo muti loyo. So iswasho really it's a diverse product that means different things to different healers.
There's a question by Lukuzan. There's a question by on our chat. But before I go into the question from Noma Swaz, which is a very deep, interesting question, I have a curiosity. I'm very curious. La endaweni esithenga kuzona impepho neminye imithi nezinto esiyisebenzisayo. I found this is an old thing that I see even saseThekwini when I would go to a endaweni like this okhona imithi. I think it's to do with the wash. There are all these bottles with pink, salty looking zwashos, deep green, like very shiny looking things. And to myself, I always think, hey, that does not look natural. Could you just, it's a curiosity for me. What are those crystal salts and very shiny looking meats? They're usually in a bottle like the one that you have over there, but they are like very deep blue, like ultra green, ultra pink. What is that, Gogo?
Ngesintu noma ngesiZulu angazi noma liphume esiZulu yini leligama kodwa
I live amongst Sabatswana here and I still see it, but even nakumaZulu futhi I also saw it like the isokhona meat kunamabhodlela amaningi wash but it's wash for this, wash for that, but they're like in all these colors that are not natural. What are these colors? That's my question.
Ibizwa ngemkhando igama lawo ama-powders lawo. Imkhando they are derived from India, ikakhulukazi. India isetshenziswa kakhulu imkhando. Kuma cleansing akhona. I don't know if you've seen maybe on TV or wherever they use a lot of color powders for healing or for celebrations.
Oh, in India, yes, yes.
Yes, so each color represents something, you know.
An energy design, okay.
Yes, an energy design. So yeah, so basically that's what's in Kando. Yeah.
Are they safe for me as a person who's very wary of things that are not natural? Are they natural? Is my question is. I mean, first of all, they are Indian. I'm not against Indian things. I use incense, I use certain Indian things, I use Indian spices when I cook. But are these things safe to ingest even? Because they are everywhere.
Well, people ingest them, the ones they do. So I
You
cannot
recommend them?
I cannot draw a line to whether they are safe or not. But people use them, so I guess they are, but we don't use them a lot. We use more herbs and salts.
Okay, cool.
And components, our isiwasho, but yeah, I cannot say much about details of, but they are used.
It's not part of Ndoni. It's not in the Ndoni category, so to speak.
No, we don't. We on but yes, agencies.
Okay, I'm gonna ask the question, Ganoma Swazi. Please listen to this one. It has to do with your response earlier about discernment and crowds. So she says, I'm in a noisy space and I have a question. No, this is just an opening. What does it imply when, for instance, you took time away, say from M17, and when you return to that space, you feel harshly receptive of the energies in that place, so much so you immediately feel sick? What does that mean? I hope you got that. You took time away, returns to work. I'm seeing it, I was M17.
He comes sick M17 when he returns to work.
Yes.
Well, usually it happens that when you're an energy sensitive person, or empath, kodwa ngesintu umuntu okwazi ukudonsa imoya. So uma umuntu olula or ungasi olula but onekhanda elula lokudonsa imoya, uzoyidonsa iy'nkinga zabantu, whether iy'nkinga, whether imicabango yabantu emibi, whether basebenzisa izinto ezingalungile for whatever purposes or things that they are busy with. If umuntu odonsa kalula, you're gonna be sick ngaleso sikhathi or lapho uzobe usemsebenzini. Hence I touched on being in crowds a lot. When you're in crowds a lot, you pull or you are sensitive to a lot of energies out there. So those energies contaminate your aura, they contaminate your energy space. Hence you are not able to connect clearly with your guides or with your energy self or energy life. So spending time alone more does help in cleansing your aura. Using prayer and herbs and visiting nature and waters does also help a lot. So that could
thank you, Coco. I would recommend that Noma Swazi get in touch with you on those contacts. People can just DM you or whatever, so that they can know how do you actually strengthen yourself against those things, because you must go to work. Some of us work in call centers where there's 100 people in the same office, in the same open space, so a crowd, sometimes it's hard to avoid. You are in this crowd for 8 hours of your work, but then you need to be able somehow, the Bible says, put on your armor of God. We put on the armor of Amatom. So how do you protect yourself? I'm recommending that people get in touch with you for those who need that kind of protection. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I can.
Okay, Nkosi, any question?
No. I just wanted us to move into the segment where she discusses about her range. I'm not sure if it was touched on. So in terms of her products, she discusses the types of products that she actually offers. I don't know if you've classified them in terms of a category, lawa abugela this part of body, or in terms of usage, So can we please speak about Journey and the products and product offering?
Okay, in Manzi Organics, so what we do is that we blend powerful and effective herbs to make medicine. But the kind of medicine that we make, it's in Manzi Organics. We make capsules, we make herbal teas, and other different types of herbal medicine. And we also do skin products as well, natural skin products, natural personal care products, and cosmetics, Nelly as well. So for example, here we have Ikhambi. Ikhambi is not very popular in our country. It's not very popular in South Africa. It's a Mediterranean herb, which is very, very powerful. Some people call it sour soap. So Ikhambi targets a lot of illness, including cancer. I don't want to, how do I put it? I don't want to do a lot of or strong medical claims about it because, you know, pharma things. But if you want to get more in touch, if you want to get more in touch with me regarding,
I think we've neglected to do something very, very important. Usually when we speak, but just before we speak about herbs, we do a disclaimer like the information that we share is not medical advice or does not replace the advice given to you by your physician, your traditional healer, your healer, or anybody who is assisting you with whatever current condition that you have. The information is for, I know it sounds silly, the sentence that I'm about to say, but legally we are obligated to say this. The information is for information purposes only and must not be construed as medical advice. For a more detailed session, you would need to go to Nompilo's rooms and have a proper consultation, and because it might not necessarily work for you. And now that we've got the legalities out of the way, we may proceed and speak about herbs freely.
Yeah, but graviola is a very powerful herb. So we use the leaves of the graviola plants. If you look online in any websites, you'll find a lot of positive reviews for graviola in cancer healing, in high blood pressure, diabetes 2, eczema, strengthening of the immune system. My mother uses it for helping her sleep well at nights because she used to have issues with sleeping. Otherwise, we have a variety of other health products as well. We have the lung and flu tonic, which has mullein and cardamom as one of the active ingredients. People who know mullein know that it's a plant that helps to cleanse and just cleanse the lungs, cleanse and heal the lungs as well. And we also have the antiviral immune support. Antiviral immune support also works to fight with viral infections in your body. We have powerful and effective herbs as well in the antiviral. We heal fibroids. We also have Irish sea moss. I forgot, how can I forget Irish sea moss as well? We have Irish sea moss as well. We also have products for hair, Jamaican black castor oil, African black soap. Yeah, we have quite a few products. So if you want to get more information on our products, you can go into Manzi Organics on Instagram. We're also busy with our websites as well at the moment, so we'll be updating everyone about the progress of our websites. As I mentioned earlier, we're also available on WhatsApp as well, 065-914-7407. Thank you.
Just a question now. So if people want to see like the product range, they would have to go to your Instagram or your Facebook page for now.
Instagram and WhatsApp. Instagram and WhatsApp. And if you have further or more questions, you can keep in touch on WhatsApp as well or DM. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I noted that you know what, I'm one person that I always remind people, do not reject things simply because you do not understand them, because you might end up rejecting yourself in the process. You have a lot of products, herbs from other different countries, and do you perhaps have like the profiles, information like the background profiles, information shared on any of the pages that you have? You spoke about, is it the castor oil? Did you say Jamaican castor oil?
Yes, Jamaican black castor oil. It's good. It's good for hair growth, for thickening hair growth. Yeah.
Okay. So the question was, do you have like a profile of the ingredients, like the background ingredients that you used just for education purposes or on any of your socials?
With some of the products I do have, but the ones that I do not have, if anyone has questions, they are free to send them to me, and I will gladly give them full information of whichever products that they have in question.
Okay. Do we have questions from the people that are present?
We have one question from Spogazi, but I'm also aware of time. We're going to have our concluding remarks in a few minutes, so that our sessions are not very long. We like people to go to our YouTube, subscribe, like, and share. So in our YouTube, I've noticed that it's important we've tried this many times, but hey, information in Ningi, and there's a lot to learn, and all of us are eager to learn from each other. But we really try to not make these long sessions. Otherwise, also, we can always call the healer back for a deeper and more conversation. Sometimes we have 2 times, 3 times, we have the same healer, so it's good. So, Spogazi Hepburn, she asked, okay, I wanted to say it from my head, but let me just read it directly. Could Gogo please elaborate on different reasons why people twasa? Because not everyone is in Sebenzo. I hope that is clear.
Why people twasa?
The different reasons. I know it's kind of it's a very open question and a very broad question. She asked, could you please elaborate on different reasons why people twasa? Because not everyone is in Sebenzo.
Well, there are different reasons why people twasa, but what I've noted and noticed is that some people twasa wrongfully when they are not supposed to be twassering. That's why I always recommend and advise that before you go into any twassering or sangoma initiation, alawenze inkamba noma igobongo. Igobongo noma izinkamba discerns and gives you a clear understanding of your life path and what you are supposed to do. You get instructions from your ancestors, what is supposed to be happening with your life. So you don't just take advice from me as a healer or from isangoma ukuthi hamba uyotwasa. Kumele umuntu aqala kwenzele izinkamba lezi eziwumhlahlandlela ukutshengisa ukuthi indaba yakho iya ngalaphi, then usungaqala ukuthwasa. Lezi ezinye izathu zokuthwasa, I'm not sure, I cannot speak or elaborate on them. Yeah, I cannot speak or elaborate much on them because I believe ukuthi yonke into has to have processes. Ngeke uvele ugqome uhlale nje entweni, kodwa asazi phela sisebenza ngokungafani.
And just to add on what you're saying, I'm reminded of the conversation that we were having last season with Mkhulu Nsingiza Guti. The word uktwasa has almost now been monopolized to actually mean the sangoma type of initiation. Ugutwasa, it means initiation, and initiation it's different types of initiation, and it's such a personal thing because even as he spoke about the initiation of kings, and somehow I don't know how we got here. Uguti uktwasa means uguti ibai sangoma only, but every calling almost has its own, every calling has its own form of initiation of some sort, and where you are taught how things work here, or where you are taught the sacred knowledge of that path.
Kunjalo gogo, kunjalo impela, ngiyavumelana nomkhulu ukuthi phela esikhathini samanje igama lentwaso selisetshenziswa kuyinto eyodwa ejwayelekile esetshenziswa abantu abaningi ukuthi masikhuluma ngentwaso suke sikhuluma ngomngoma, kodwa uqinisile impela omkhulu uma esho kanjalo.
Mkhulu, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Excuse me. I said I wanted to do something just towards the closing, but I would like to also have Ugogo say a few things in terms of conclusion. Is there anything that she feels that she may have left out that she'd like to speak about before I read this? There's a passage about Sekhmet that I would like to read that I think is very important. It kind of covers almost everything that we have discussed today, but I would like to read it thoroughly. But is there anything, Nkosi, that you would like to tell us that might be on your mind, since you have this platform right now?
Sorry, there's a comment from Usipogazi. I'm not sure what it means. She
And
said,
don't read it if you don't know what it means. Ask her to
but I think
clarify
we may
it.
have lost
Yes.
Nompilo.
Okay, she may clarify it. Okay, while
No, we may
Nompilo
have
is
lost
gone.
Nompilo. We've lost her. She's gone.
Okay, she'll be back, hopefully. So while she's gone, I'd like to, I think Usipogazi is speaking about the issue of umsamu, about the fact that a lot of people, all they need to do is fix umsamu, but they end up going towards Twasa. Keketso Slim Cats, she did say siyabonga for this platform. And Uroy said something beautiful about Nompilo. She said, I really love her calmness. So I like that. Compliments are good for each other. They're good even for the one who's giving the compliment. I don't want to delve too much into that because of time, but it's an important thing, the issue of umsamu. In almost every session, we speak about it, like we can't. Can I please, Gogo, while we're waiting for Nompilo to come back and say goodbye to the people, I would like to read something about the principle of Sekhmet, which I think is very important and covers everything.
You may proceed, Kulu.
All right. So the principle, according to the sacred magic, it's Tiwalang or Sekhmet, purification. Her principle is purification. Sekhmet Bast's energy dynamic is directed towards removing invasion, intrusion, and disorder. Her influence is formidable and should never be called upon for frivolous purposes. For no good reason. No, or just for something that is trivial. Rituals for her temple were known to utterly destroy those they were directed toward. So it's very possible they may be working with Sekhmet. We do not know. It's possible. Rituals for her temple.
Before you proceed, last we did learn that there's a duality in everything. It's the energy that exists in the dark also exists in the light. The source is the same. It's just how people have decided, how a person decides to utilize that energy. Are you using that energy for good, or are you using it for bad things? So
yes.
yeah.
I'll repeat from there. Rituals for her temple were known to utterly destroy those they were directed toward, and may have been the only ones that employed blood sacrifice. Though none have survived the ages, she is protector of soldiers, law enforcement, and psychic healers. So her function is purgation. As healer, Sekhmet Bast removes impurities from the body, though her presence may bring fever and eruptions of the skin. However, she brings the appropriate medical assistance when invoked, and she is patroness or patron of all healers, therapists, and physicians. I want to read something here, and then I want to pose a question to all of us before we close. You know, you go to like the Sokona image, not all of us know exactly what we are buying. Sometimes we know, sometimes we don't. You see animal skins hanging. You see snake skins. You see ofezela. Ofezela is a scorpion. You see orangutans and monkeys. You see dried skins of, there's this thing called a hedgehog. Now, one of the main animals associated with Sekhmet, the animals are the large cats, all different cats, from the lions to cheetahs and panthers, and the domesticated cat, which stands for bast. But the hedgehog is also one of her totem animals. Now you go to these places of Imiti, Gomaimai, and all these other places, everywhere all over the country where I've been, even in Zim. You find animals. The hedgehog, sometimes is the hedgehog, I think in Ngungumbani is, I don't know what you call it in your language. I'm not talking about Sonic, the real hedgehog, porcupine, I think they call it. Now, some of these are endangered. Does anyone here know what these animals are used for? That's just the last question from me. And it's an open question to anyone in the group. What are the animals?
No, Uncle. You know, I'm one person. When I work with herbs, if I don't know it, it means I'm not meant to know it. It's not my problem. If I don't know it, especially.
You don't go near.
You know why? Especially when we start, because those you'd have to. I know there's life in plants, but what you start using amafuta eilwane, that's a whole different type of healing, and it has its own people in abantu bayo, in abantu bayo, and so I'm like, leave it to those.
Let Zamalek say something about it, and then I would like us to go towards a close. Zamalek has something to say. Zamalek, you can free your mic and speak, King.
Okay, I'd like to talk about this because I grew up where amafutha ayasebenziswa. Like kamkhulu wonke umuntu uyamazi. We know about Shaka Zulu. Used to use amafutha wembuzi, amafutha enkomo ahlanganise nebhubesi, and other recipial spices that has to deal with herbs. But now, it has much to deal with the knowledge. It goes back to what you have said, that Sekhmet, when you talk about what is Sekhmet is about purification. So these people who use these things knew their source of purification and systematic healing or within them that works with them. They had nothing to deal with violently or trivial conflicts where someone wants to be stronger than others. That is why you are warned in this case that we don't do these rituals because they are harmful. Whatever you can do that will be sent to someone, it will destroy them. The ritual of the church will destroy others. That belongs to Sekhmet because she's a permanent destroyer of all the enemies of the true light, that is Ra. So we need to understand, and it goes again to explain the form of the sickness that happens to izangoma, izinyanga, abalaphi. The form of the sickness of where when you are embodied or where a Sekhmet will possess you or will be part of your body since you are initiated, you'll get a fever. And then you'll get the harsh sickness that doctors cannot heal. But when you go to them, they will identify the fever. They will tell you that you have a fever. All sangomas, they have that particular experience and nyangas. So this is, even the Rastas, they do get that fever. It is called Reggae My Life by Peter Tosh. So, yes, so we need to engage such phenomenon understanding into deep knowledge, like the way you talk about the initiation, that when you have guidance, and we talk about it when I said yes, a comedian can entertain a king, which means this person has highest access into our minds. That is why we can laugh, we can have everything. But when it's an opposite, uba uhlanya, and then this person second a mental problem within our society, which means yes, we are exist, but in our society, that is why respect this one is not uhlanya. It goes to the explanation I explain about psychological mental illnesses, that when we want to know illnesses, we'll go to a simple analogy. In the Messiah, they found that the Messiah woman were making a ritual, a particular ritual, and then they were going hysteria and vomiting and all, and doing all these things that are insane. But when then some other woman in some other day, he did that, and the community, they were saying she's crazy. And psychologists asked, why would you say this one is crazy, but the rest of your people do that as a festival? And then they said she's doing it not at the right time where the society doesn't proceed in that. So in this case, when we talk about these things, it's the same way of explaining this segment principles. Just we have to break down these details about purification. What is it that is being cleansed? Because Mama Nompilo talk about amakobongo and all those. These are the procedures that one pass through, and to purify yourself. These kobongos, they are purifying your body. They are purifying each and everything, your spinal nervous system, your colon, your mind, your brain, your psychology, your spirit. So it's much about segment. We need to study much of her to get these details clearly.
Absolutely.
I ask, because you know what, I always caution people, especially when things start involving like blood rituals, because so to get those amakanda, the hedgehogs and the skins and the amafuta and whatnot, you literally have to spill blood. And for me, I always say to people, before uzocitha you better be sure ukuthi wenzani, and you better know ukuthi ulichithelani igazi, because I feel like the usage of herbs, yes, it can be dangerous, but when you start talking about spilling of blood, that is another level where real education needs to be brought in, you know. And even nabantu njengoba manje bathanda ukwenza imisebenzi eminingi engapheli. I'm one person, I'm like, hey guys, man kancane, you know. Or I really want to delve deep into it, because I'm not about the whole, I feel like the essence, the life force is sacred, that you can't just go and go spill it without a very important reason.
No, Tamako. Gogo, there's this thing, you know, you're talking about spilling of blood, but the way I was phrasing my question was, people go with their wallets full of money to go buy a head of a baboon, for example, or the head of this thing, according to whatever instructions that they receive. Or they buy amafuta amafuta of whatever, different animals. So a lot of urban dwellers don't kill per se. The thing is already killed. The essence of it is still there, maybe in the skin or in the horn or in the eyes or in the, you know, depending on how old the thing is. So the animal is. So the reason I put that there is because there's something that the writer of this Sacred Magic says. She says some of the rituals that involved blood were mostly attributed to Sekhmet. And these rituals have not, according to her knowledge, they've discontinued. People no longer do blood rituals related to Sekhmet. Now you're talking about Msebenzi, yes, the slaughtering of goats, chickens, cows, and all that. The Guning, we can talk about what is the particular specific rite being done. RITE, you know, to use that particular, why a goat, why a chicken, why a white cow, why a black cow, you know. There's something that I think as Ikhambi, we can have a session. I don't think we've had a serious session just dealing with sacrifices. I think maybe towards the end of Sekhmet season, let's talk about animal sacrifice and dedicate our 2 hours to the issue of animal use in medicine as well as sacrifice. Is that okay? Can you agree on that?
It must come and elaborate his point. Next week, can we come back and talk about this? Because
yes. Okay, we will come back. Nompilo, as you are coming back, we are saying we will have a session. Welcome back.
She's not connected to sound yet. She can't hear you.
Okay. I'm just giving a summary.
Next week, are you coming back here?
Yeah, I'll see. Don't worry, Nkosi. I'll see. I'm always available. There's a spirit that is controlling me. If we are attuned and inclined, obviously, that's obvious. Menzi, man. We are inclined with the spirit. When all of us were moving with the universe, the vibration will lead me into that. Obviously, you talk about it, it is written out there.
Indeed. I don't recommend that it's going to be next week, but I think I'm going to skip this coming week and make it the other week, the next week after that. There's a Uroy recommends, kindly invite Otsile Mulefe to one of Ikhambi natural healing sessions. He is a Motswana natural healer and can talk a bit more about animal use also. All right, if we will look for
Let's share the contact details.
Either we Google the person or we have their details. If you can, Roy, send us, DM us, or send us here the details of that person, the contact details. We will definitely get back. Can Nompilo come through? Because she needs to say goodbye to her people. Are you there, Nkosi, we were just deliberating about issues of animal sacrifice, but we've decided that we're going to have a session where we deal with animal sacrifice and animal essence, izikhumba, amafuta enkukhu, amafuta enyoka, and all those things. We will dedicate a session to that because I personally don't have understanding of them, but I always see it. I've seen it ever since I was young. So we need to know more about it. We'll dedicate 2 hours to that. Maybe the session after next week we'll do that. But otherwise, we were asking you towards the end, Uti, is there any last words? Is there anything that you wanted us to know in these last 5 minutes? Anything that you want to say?
I had a connection issue. Ngisimo sembuzo, we have covered izinto eziningi nekade engayicabanga ukuthi zizovela kwi-interview. So I think we've covered okuningi impela. Ngiyabonga kakhulu ngembuzo. Eminye ingivulile nje emqondweni njoba ngisho sibengayilindele. So thank you so much for ithuba namhlanje. Ngiyathemba ukuthi nempendulo ngizilethe ngendlela ezwakalayo neqavile.
A personal question. It's another curiosity of mine. It's a personal question. Ingubo oyembethe umbethe ingubo eyengwe esengathi iluphuzi umbala, right? Iluphuzi nobumnyama. What is the significance of ingwe eluphuzi nobumnyama? Ngoba ngibona abanye befake ingwe ebovu nobumnyama enye ibe luphuzi lobo eyakho ebuphuzi kanti bubende kanje. It's yellow, but a deep yellow. What is the significance of the garment that you are wearing?
Okay, oqala nje siqale ngengwe. Ingwe ukuthi ngihlobene noma ngixhumene kanjani naye. Ingwe iyona ebivela kakhulu noma ebisondele kakhulu uma evela amathongo ethongweni lami noma ebusuku uma ngilele emaphushweni. Bebevela ngayo ingwe nje bengivezela imbono ethize nemiyalezo ethize bevela ngayo ingwe. So sisebenzisa wona-ke amakhosi engwe, and umbala-ke uyellow no black. Uyellow kumina, I connect a lot with the sun. So that's what it means to me. It means solar energy. Solar energy noma amandla elanga angapheli ahleze khona aphilisayo anqobayo futhi ukuthi awekho amanye amandla afinyelele eduze kwelanga. So that's what uyellow signifies him.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So in short, ingwe isilwane isilo ebesivela kakhulu during your initiation or regular, on a regular when you are connecting with your ancestors?
Bivela kakhulu okokuqala ngingakabi nesiqiniseko sokusikwenzakala ngami, kodwa mabezovela abantu abadala bebevela ngayo, uthola ukuthi iba ne-presence of ukungongamela noma ukungisurrounda most of the time. And even during the initiation, futhi makunezimo ethize engibhekene nazo, ibivela kakhulu. So I'm very connected with Ingwe. Yeah.
Okay. No, I see it. Anyone has a question before we close? Comment?
No questions.
Roy has shared the number on our Instagram. So Coco, please do the things and find it, the number for the guest on Instagram. Please
I will search for it.
Everyone who's listening here, please go to our Facebook, like our previous Lukuzanes, and subscribe and share, please. We need those numbers to grow so that we can.
There's a donation button now. Donate, please.
Donation button, yeah. Still 50 cents, no 50,000, no 5 rand, no. Imali mhlophe, please. Asidingi imali emnyama. Imali emnyama fanele be triple black, which is a holy black. So yeah, we give thanks for life. Koko Marcos. Marcos Nompilo. For the last time, please share your socials for us.
Okay, Donia Manzi Organics, soon Donia Manzi Organics on Instagram, Donia Manzi Organics on Facebook. Masisiba kona futugu WhatsApp go 065-914-0407. Personal accounts yagwi Facebook Nompilo Mchalindoni.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Siyabonga kakhulu. Koko, there's nothing on Facebook.
There's
right?
nothing.
All right, Siyabonga, do you have any last words, famous words?
Follow us like Slangane next week is Kulumang Elwan.
Next time, not next week. We shall see. It might be next week.
Yeah, just watch our Instagram. I'll post the what's this, the date and the time. But it should be either next week or the week after next.
Sure.
But yeah, I will post. Just be on the lookout. Thank you for holding space with us today. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, and thank you for being so kind. Tamaku.
Bring the sun to your life. It's shining today.